evening, YouTube. Tired Metalhead Weatherman here. Hopefully, you guys are doing well. It's been a pretty quiet day, and those are the kind of days we like. But there's still some stuff going on here, and I'm gonna touch on that. There's still potential for a winter storm later this week. There's a small chance for severe weather. We'll briefly touch on that, but we're just touching up on bases here. It's been a pretty quiet day, and I have no complaints with that at all. Trust me. So that being said, no organized severe weather expected. We're seeing some moderate to heavy snow over here. There's actually a mesoscale discussion that was issued a little earlier today, where we could start to see a wet snow about up to 1 inch per hour rates later this evening across some southern Minnesota here. As mentioned here, we actually go ahead and go over to radar mega. We'll start to see it. We're starting to see that that warm air starting to be pushed, starting to be evicted out of there. So we're starting to see cold air begin to take over across this region, and that's what's gonna end up really kickstarting this snow band that's supposed to develop here. You can see over towards North and South Dakota where we have moderate to heavy snow falling right now. And this is going to continue into the overnight, which will increase the totals across this region. This storm system is going to deepen as it moves further and further to the east, but again, we will be talking about that momentarily. So let's go ahead and look at the temperature outlook over the next few days. We're not going to go with the full GFS this time. We're just going to go ahead and look through like maybe the next 120 hours. Also, if you hear the little swishing noise, that's my Radar Omega app update, and I have not figured out how to turn this thing off. But that being said, well, I guess I could just close it out. Give me a second here. Not gonna lie, that sound was probably gonna get annoying to you and probably me after a while. So, yeah. That being said, let's go ahead and move the temperatures along. We know the story for the most part here, but cold temperatures as of right now are perfect for wintry conditions across this region. Really brutal air is set to move in early to later this week across this region, and it will really only go downhill from there, figuratively and literally. So we still have a pretty broad warm sector here across the south. So there's still a chance for severe storms. But one thing that's going to come into question here is the amount of forcing that will be available with this next system. It does not look very impressive from what I've been seeing. In fact, if anything, it's kind of downtrended from the last couple of days. It looked more impressive on the GFS, but on the other models, we're kind of starting to trend away from something. I'm still going to be keeping a close eye on it, so if something does change, I will be the first to let you know, or I will try to be at least. That being said, the Northeast looks like they're going to be next in line for this system. And really the next system that's coming in looks like it has a chance of being a big snowmaker towards the Great Lakes once again and towards the Northeast. And today we'll get more into the snowfall totals with that. But as we go into Friday, of course, here's our next system. It's actually going to be right around here, and we'll watch this bomb of cold air start to go off here across the northern tier of the U.S. Eventually stretch its wings out further to the east over the course of the weekend. And we can see the same thing kind of going on with the Euro, but on the 06 and 18Z runs, we only get up to about 90 hours out. But this is just a quick overview, more or less, of what we have going on here. You can actually still see how those warm temperatures are still advecting far up to the north here. Even into the Ohio Valley, we're getting into the mid-60s. So again, I think there's still a chance for severe weather towards the end of the week, but potential is relatively low. I do think showers and thunderstorms are still very much a possibility across this region. But eventually cold air is going to start to win out. I think a weak front's possible, but for the most part, showers and thunderstorms will go through, and then after that, we'll start to see that cold air really start to work its way further south here. So here is a look at the trough that I've been monitoring over the last few days, and it's really not that impressive. Right now, we're actually in a zonal pattern. So what we're going to end up seeing here as time goes on, You mainly want to look for these purple to red blotches in particular. Whenever you see these little what you would call jet streaks here, this is going to be usually a good indicator of where the storm systems are going to end up going. And that's what this storm system is going to be here, essentially. Not really too much going with that right now. And then as time goes on, that works its way to the northeast. This is mainly a warmer type system. Maybe towards the north side of it, you could see some snow here. And then what we're also looking for here is a trough where we see something heading along this path that's starting to dig a little bit. Along this trough also, you could see an increased amount of cold air coming in behind it. So the cold air is going to be stored here for right now across the northwest. This trough looks like it starts to deepen, but all the forcing is with the system at close proximity. Further out, there's very little forcing to be had, so this limits severe potential for sure. And then as time goes on, if there's anywhere that I think severe potential could be existent, I would think it would be somewhere across here towards central Oklahoma and parts of Texas here. It doesn't look like a robust severe threat because I don't see a lot of potential behind moisture return, and also instability is questionable as well. So not a super robust severe threat, but I think one still would exist. But we'll have to see what happens. This is for Thursday, by the way. And then as we drag this forward here, we see the low deepen, but again, moisture enforcing is questionable. But on the backside of this trough here, where that cold air will start to meet whatever moisture does make it to this system, on the backside of it, could be some snow here. Also, towards the higher level of the atmosphere, it's a pretty strong jet streak. So as I see that develop, I think we could see a much more significant wintry event start to unfold here as we look towards maybe the Ohio Valley this time as we head into the weekend. And then we could even see maybe even close to blizzard conditions if these winds here will translate to the surface. That cold blast continues to work its way to the east. This trough develops a decent negative tilt here, so it's questionable as to whether or not we end up getting snow over towards Philly and New York, but that could be a thing as we head into the weekend. It'll be interesting to see how that unfolds. But that's pretty much all I can see right now in regards to our winter weather and severe weather threat. We'll see how it translates on the precipitation map right now. And so right now we can easily see our current situation here with winter weather across southern Minnesota here, parts of both the Dakotas here. And then we also have this almost atmospheric river flow like event going on across the west here, particularly over the Sierra Nevadas. We don't need this to continue over this region here. So as we watch this storm begin to deepen and head over to the northeast, this could become a player for Philly and New York as well. By the way, we also see additional storm systems going over the Sierras in California. This low kind of stays offshore on the GFS's run and just kind of goes in a counterclockwise flow, and it's just slamming additional moisture along the west coast here. So the Sierra Nevadas will be seeing plenty of snow this week. And it doesn't really stop. It just keeps going as we head into the weekend here. So it's really not until Sunday where that stops, actually. So we will be watching the west coast, the western mountains in particular, very closely, because this could be another situation like similar to what we saw in January. Maybe not as significant, but at this point, we don't really want any more of it, period, probably over there. I could probably speak for a lot of people in saying that. So that being said, let's look back towards the east here. Here's our storm system coming through, and it's really not until Wednesday where we start to see some showers and thunderstorms develop. This mostly is a heavy rain shield right here over Arkansas. There could be a potential for a marginal thunderstorm or two, marginal severe thunderstorm risk. I think Thursday has a better chance, but even then, it's not a very impressive look on there. This definitely favors more of a wintry type setup completely. Here's that low. It's actually looking like it's a little further south than what the wind profile was giving. But what I can see here is the snow line develops, and with the moisture return that is available with this could be some moderate to heavy snow across this region here. It's also going to be extremely cold here, so it's going to be a dry snow, so totals could be higher. And then as time goes on, this low really starts to deepen, and we'll watch this end up moving off to the north and east here. Nice little snow shield develops. Then we'll have to watch towards the end of next week for a new storm system that's going to be set to cause more problems across the Midwest and then eventually the Great Lakes. This one has more severe weather potential. But when we look at the Euro, of course, this runs the limited version. We only can look up to about maybe 3.5 days actually, excuse me. And what we'll see here is a pretty similar deal. There's a lot of agreement between the models. Not quite as the severe threat looks a little bit more impressive with the Euro versus the GFS. So there's a lot of model discrepancy there, or model variation. So it's gonna be interesting to see how things unfold. The GFS is not really on board with a severe setup, whereas this looks a little bit better. So we're just going to have to wait and see how that goes. Other than that, it's pretty identical in regards to the moisture content, both across the Midwest and the western half of the U.S. here. So like I said, a lot going on there. Last thing to really look at is the snowfall potential here. So here we are looking at our potential snowfall over the next 90 hours. Really, we won't get into the snowfall totals for these systems next or towards the end of this week until about a day or two later. Might also take a chance and take a small break here, because I've really been on a stretch since really Christmas. It's been almost 3 months. It's been pretty relentless, the weather has been. So been just trying to stay on top of it. And I'm also working on additional content for the channel, so I might take that day tomorrow and do that, unless I see something more significant. But here's what we're seeing so far. Again, no surprise here. The greatest snowfall totals are going to be over the Sierras. And then, of course, we have a big snow train coming our way over towards Minnesota and the Dakotas. We could see additional snowfall across southern Minnesota here, and maybe also Wisconsin, at least starting out through this week. And then I expect these totals to increase as we push further out. And then, of course, over here is a big question mark between New York and Pennsylvania. New York City could see big time snow here. This is, of course, on the Euro. And then as we look towards the mountain ranges of the Northeast and over towards Maine, we could get into the action as well. Looks pretty limited so far across the region. I think most of the snow is going to be associated with these lows are going to end up pushing a little more north of the border. We make the comparison with the Canadian. It's pretty good agreement at this point too. I think the totals are a little bit further to the south with this than the Euro. And then last but not least, the GFS. GFS is a little bit more giving in regards to snow for areas like Philly and New York. We'll have to see what ends up happening for these areas further to the south here, but it looks like you guys are getting stiffed according to the GFS. It's always fun to see the variance between these models. There's always something unique with each of them, which I kind of like. It's always interesting to see which one will win out. But that's what we have going on with the snow threat as of right now. I haven't really seen anything in regards to ice potential at this point, so I'm not really concerned about that at the moment. Again, I'll be watching, so if something changes, I'll be putting up a video. Best believe that. But speaking of video, it looks like it's the end of the video here. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, you know what to do. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Do the double click if you haven't subscribed. And then, of course, share the video to anyone that might find this useful. Also want to say we are very close to 300 subs. We might not get there by tomorrow because that would be the 1 year anniversary of the channel. Whether we do or don't, appreciate you guys for being here. I may take a break tomorrow to work on other content on this channel and my other one, which you'll see at the end of the video if you made it this far. Anyway, this has been Tired Metalhead Weatherman. I'll see you guys later. Till then, take care. Have a good night.